everybody. Hey, I'm Beth. I'm a grateful believer, and I struggle with codependency.
Yes, you do.
Hi, y'all. We are so glad to have you all here tonight, and we also welcome anybody who's watching the live stream tonight. Everybody say hi. So we're glad to have you at Celebrate Recovery. We are such a great family here, and we like to encourage one another and support one another. But in order to do that, it's good to know one another. So get up out of your chairs and go meet somebody new tonight.
I can tell you've been talking but we can lay our burdens down. Lay our burdens down. What a friend we have in Jesus. East to west, my sins are gone. I see grace on every horizon, and forever and ever His heart is my home. Everybody has fear. Everybody got worries. Everybody knows sorrow, devastation. But we can lay our burdens down. Lay our burdens down. What a friend we have in Jesus. East to with me, how great is our God.
And
All will see how great is our God.
You may be seated. Where's the best place to be on a Thursday night? All right. Would you join me in a word of prayer? Father, thank you for this day. It was a warm one, God, but every day is a gift. And we thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight and to learn about the kinds of things that can help us get better. We gather here, Lord, with a variety of hurts, hang-ups, and habits, and we are united in the fact that we would like life to be better than it was. And so we pray, Lord, tonight for anybody who's struggling with any kind of issue, whether it's addiction, mental health, relationship issues, loss or grief. Lord, it could be even a combination of those. And we pray that you would meet those here with your healing hand who need to be touched by you. And Lord, that you would help each of us to hear a little bit more about what it means to be not only in a relationship with you, but in a community where people can love and encourage and support one another as we are here tonight to celebrate our recovery. Thank you for hearing our prayers. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. All right, Chris is going to come up and read the 8 principles.
Hey everybody, I'm a grateful addict named Chris and a great believer. Principle 1. Are we going to read the top first, I suppose, Dale? Cool. Celebrate Recovery sums up the 12 steps and what we call the 8 principles. Jesus has called us to build our lives upon these 8 biblical principles based on the teaching of Jesus during the Sermon on the Mount. Many lives have been continued to be touched by these principles and the impact that Jesus' word brings to our lives. These principles are, Principle 1, realize that I am not God. I admit that I am powerless to control my tendency to do the wrong thing and that my life is unmanageable. Principle 2, earnestly believe that God exists, that I matter to him, and that he has the power to help me recover. Principle 3, consciously choose to commit all my life and will to Christ's care and control. Principle 4, openly examine and confess my faults to God, to myself, and to someone I trust. Principle 5, voluntarily submit to every change God wants to make in my life and humbly ask him to remove my character defects. Bless you. Principle 6, evaluate my relationships, offer forgiveness to those who have hurt me, and make amends for harm I've done to others, except when to do so would harm them or others. Principle 7, reserve a daily time with God for self-examination, Bible reading and prayer in order to know God and his will for my life and to gain the power to follow his will. Principle 8, yield myself to God to be used to bring this good news to others, both by example and by my words.
Put it over there. Good job. Good job, Chris. Thank you. So I didn't say this earlier. My name is Dale. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus. I'm an alcoholic. I want to thank you for being here tonight. What a great crowd at Celebrate Recovery tonight. I know our staff was making a little bit of an effort to get people out, so glad that you are here. We want you to know that Celebrate Recovery is a 12-step program where we believe and teach that Jesus is the higher power who can bring recovery, maybe even sanity into your life. And we're not only a program, Celebrate Recovery, here at Lighthouse Church, but a church community and recovery community where people are welcome to come wherever they are on not only their recovery journey, but also their spiritual journey. So you may not be in a place of really knowing who Jesus is or what the church is really supposed to be about, or you may have felt like you were never going back to church again, and here you are. We're just glad you're here, and we're not going to try to force anything on you. Just encourage you to be open, and I think tonight one of the blessings is you're going to come and at least hear about resources that are available to our community that will really help people who need some added support in this difficult journey of recovery that lots of us have been on in this place. We're going to take an offering, so ushers, you can come on down. Heather and Monica, I'm going to have you can start coming on up, and I'm just going to share a couple of announcements. So I want you to know that you're not expected to give whenever you come to a church or a Celebrate Recovery program. I think every recovery program tries to be self-supporting and takes a free will offering. And often it's not just to support the things that are kind of helping us and putting us on a path of recovery, but I learned when I came into recovery that lots of us have been takers in life, and it's about time to become a giver. So if you're not able to give now, we understand that, but always encourage people to get to a place where maybe that would be something that becomes a priority in their recovery journey. This is the large group portion of Celebrate Recovery. After the large group portion of Celebrate Recovery, we are going to break into small groups. And here's how small groups work. Men, we go down to the House of Hope, which is on the next block. It's just down the street. Follow the line of guys. And there will be 1 or 2 drug and alcohol addiction groups, I believe a mental health or depression, anxiety group, and a sex addiction group. Ladies, you will be in this building. In this room, there's a codependency group. Downstairs, 1 or 2 drug and alcohol addiction groups, and also a depression, anxiety group. Most important thing is ask for help if you're not sure where to go. Want to encourage you to be part of the groups. It's really where the heart of recovery happens. Afterwards, I believe on your empty stomach there will be a little treat afterwards. I don't know what we're doing, but it'll be outside here, and you can come pop in before you head home and have dinner, all right? So here's what we're going to do tonight. We have, as a church at Lighthouse Church, been part of some work that the state of North Dakota does to help provide some added resources for people who are seeking recovery. As you're going to learn, some who have come out of incarceration, that might be some of you. Others for whom their mental health or addiction have just been real barriers in finding some stability in life, and others who maybe have other barriers, including financial barriers that help them move forward. And so tonight I have invited these 2 ladies to come, and I'm going to interview them a little bit about the programs that are available on this side of the river. And I wanted to tell you before I head up there that for some of you, this might be information that you will want to act on. You might be interested in some of what you hear tonight. For others of you, because I know a lot of you, you know people who might benefit by these programs. And I want to encourage you to kind of listen to what is shared and kind of be aware of that, because we're not only about helping ourselves when we're in recovery, we're about helping others, okay? So I want to encourage you to be attentive to that and know that this might be of benefit to people. And for those of you who are just part of our Lighthouse community, you're going to learn what we do here. A big part of our outreach and ministry. So can you, by the way, welcome on those of you watching on live stream today or in the future. And we hope that this is beneficial to you as well. You can let us know if there is anything that we can do to help if you're interested in any of what you're going to hear tonight. I also want you to know, and we have some of them represented, there are other providers who provide the same services that we do here at Lighthouse. And there's a lot of options if you're interested in these kinds of services. So why don't everybody say hi and smile at Heather and Monica while I head up the stairs. All right. Hi.
Hello.
Heather Brandt, Monica Haugen, I have gotten to know them well. I have known Heather for a long time, at least in the Lighthouse journey. And some of you might know Heather from some of the work that she has done in the past in our community. So we're going to just start by having you introduce yourselves and tell us what you want us to know about you personally, but also then maybe what you do in your day job. Okay?
Well, I can start. My name's Heather Brandt. I work for the state of North Dakota, as Dale said. I work within the Behavioral Health Division, and really my job is designed to expand support services for people in the community. So when you think of all of the services, like you go see a therapist or you go see a prescriber or a doctor, but a lot of people have many needs really outside of that once-a-week appointment or 9 hours a week of group. And so the services and programs that we design and help get funding for really provide services for outside of that time. A little bit about me and why I'm passionate about the work and why I stay is that I was greatly impacted by addiction, mental health, and recovery through my entire life and continuing into this current life, my adult life. My sister has been incarcerated almost my entire life. I don't really remember any time she hasn't been. And she had 3 children who I helped raise with my mom. And so really just saw the whole impact that it has on families and communities with addiction and mental health. And so that was really my journey. I wanted to be part of a system. I wanted to be part of making changes, and part of being in those systems is sometimes you don't agree with everything, but if you want to make change, you really have to be part of the system. And so here I am, I'm the state, all those people that people like to badmouth and say, oh, you're the state, oh, you're the state. That's me, call me. But yeah, so nice to meet all of you. Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to say a quick thing. I met Heather when she worked at Center and oversaw programming, and I don't know what all of you did, but what I do know is that she was instrumental in the support of our partnership with Center that continues to allow us to come and get an overflowing van of women tonight, I understand, and men who walk over frequently. And I've never forgiven her, or that's not true. I've been so grateful, and these people know that I regularly say that one of the things I'm most proud of in this journey here at Lighthouse Church and Celebrate Recovery is the transformation that I get to see in people's lives who have come out of incarceration and are open to recovery and what God wants to do in their life. Some of the people here started in that path. So thank you. So yeah, it's great to see you. All right, meet Monica and her fan.
Hi, yes, I'm a Southern grandmother. I carry my fan with me everywhere. I'm Monica Haugen. I'm with the Behavioral Health Division as well, and I'm an administrator for a program called 1915I, which is supportive services for people. That's a Medicaid-based program, and it serves people with mental illness, substance use disorder, and brain injury. So similar to some of the programs that Heather oversees, but a little bit different with that Medicaid angle as well. So my history, I have a long history of mental illness in my family, and it continues on. I have a son with some pretty significant challenges right now. I've always been in human services my entire career, but decided to step out of that provider role and move kind of into the policy role to try to affect some systems change. So that's kind of what brought me here.
Yeah, so I've gotten to know Monica over the last couple of years and the work she does with 1959. I'm so grateful that you're here. She's come to a few of the things that we've done here at Lighthouse to kind of celebrate our work. Yeah, it's a privilege to have you here tonight. So we're going to start, yep. We're going to start by just having you describe some of the programs that specifically we do want to talk about tonight. Free Through Recovery, Community Connect, and then a little bit further, the 1959. We want to distinguish between them, let people know who is eligible for them, why people might want to consider or how they might want to encourage people. So why don't you start with Free Through Recovery and Community Connect?
Sure. So Free Through Recovery started back in 2018, and it was really an initiative between the Behavioral Health Division and the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. And the program was designed to expand supportive services for individuals that had been incarcerated, so formerly incarcerated, currently incarcerated, or people who were on parole and probation with the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. And really at that time, they took those dollars and instead of building more prisons and institutions, they decided to reinvest the dollars into those community supports. And what Free Through Recovery provides is access to care coordination. So what is a care coordinator? In the simplest terms, a care coordinator is somebody for you to connect with that can help you navigate to services and resources that you might need, whether that's housing, nourishment assistance, benefits, your Social Security, whatever it might be, getting your IDs. They really help break down those barriers and get you navigated to those services. But the other piece of that team that I would argue is even more important is your peer support specialist. So yes, your peer support specialist is the person that has that lived experience of recovery, whether it's substance use, mental health, incarceration, and really has been there and navigated those systems, and they use that lived experience as their credential. And so we started training peer support specialists in 2018, and I think were you at the first peer support?
I was at the first care coordinator training.
That's okay, and I remember, so Dale was at the first care coordination training, I was at the first care coordination, and then if any of you remember Pastor Aaron and Sam, we always laugh because that's where they met too at the first time.
Correct.
So make another connection to Lighthouse. So we started training peer support specialists in 2018 and really started valuing that lived experience as a credential, and they became then part of the behavioral health workforce. So sometimes people say, what is behavioral health? And really, behavioral health is just having emotional well-being. Sometimes we hear people say behavioral health and mental health, or behavioral health and substance use. But behavioral health covers everything from prevention to intervention services, to recovery, to treatment, just that whole umbrella of services related to mental well-being or emotional well-being. So Free Through Recovery was awesome. It was rocking. It was just growing. And we went to our state legislators and said, this program is so successful that we want to expand it to serve more individuals, because there was nothing worse than somebody calling and saying, hey, can I get into that program? And then I'd have to say, are you on parole or probation, or have you, are you in trouble? And they'd say no. And then I'd say, well, you're not eligible. So that makes zero sense, right? just makes no sense whatsoever when people don't qualify for those services because they haven't been involved in the criminal justice system. And we want to prevent criminal justice system involvement whenever possible. So we expanded that program in, 2.5 years ago? We launched, I'm terrible with dates, we launched a new program called Community Connect. And Community Connect took that model of care, so peer services and care coordination, and really expanded it beyond that DOCR-specific population. So any person struggling with mental health, substance use, housing, whatever that might look like, they can now get connected to those same services that are provided in Free Through Recovery. And so it was a very great partnership with most of our Free Through Recovery organizations, but Community Connect has really grown. We currently serve, I believe, around 2,800 people in the state of North Dakota in that program, which might not seem like a lot, but it is, and it's really impacting the lives of people across the entire state of North Dakota. We have providers in every single region. We saw a lot of faith-based organizations like Lighthouse Church have opportunities to start providing additional services and supports to individuals in their community or people that were part of their congregation. We also saw peer-run organizations have opportunities to grow and expand businesses and be able to support more people. And then the other cool piece of all of that is we have seen peer support just bloom and explode. And now peer support services, so it started out being billable to Free Through Recovery, started being billable to our substance use disorder voucher. So that's another service if you're struggling with substance use and you need help covering the costs of it. A substance use disorder voucher can cover those costs. So peer services are covered there. Then Community Connect. And then 1915I, which Monica will talk more about, which sounds just like a foreign language, doesn't it? And then now, Blue Cross Blue Shield pays for peer support services. Medicaid expansion pays for peer support services. And fingers crossed, Medicaid hopefully will reimburse for peer support services in 2024. Now, if you look at that compared to other states across the nation, we are leading the way, trailblazers. There are I would say there's over 500 peer supports employed in the state of North Dakota. We started certifying peers in 2021, and we have roughly 300 peers certified. And so really professionalizing it as a career and a pathway if you're interested in helping others with your lived experience. So with that,
yeah, so let's
hear
a little bit about, thank you very much.
You guys are so nice, clapping.
They are not. Yeah, they never clap for me, so that's good. That's good. Can you talk a little bit about 1915I and who's eligible for that? And I know it's some of the same services, but on a higher level.
Yeah.
So just describe it. Maybe even start by telling us why in the heck is it called 1915I?
Because Medicaid needs to make everything as complicated as possible.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's called 1915I. There's like certain subsections of Medicaid, and it just falls into that subsection or something like that. But so 1915I started about the same time as Community Connect. I almost like to consider it kind of a continuum. So you have Community Connect and Free Through Recovery, offering the care coordination, that peer support, those recovery supports. 1915I really came about to support individuals who had a more intense need. So the eligibility requirements for 1915I are a behavioral health diagnosis. You have to be on Medicaid to receive the services because it's billable to Medicaid. And on top of that, you have to have a certain degree of functional limitation. You have to have a certain score on an assessment that means that you have kind of a moderate level of functional limitation, where you might struggle in some areas, you might not in others, but it's areas like communication, maybe getting along with others, participating in the community, self-care, those kinds of things. So really, it can be seen as maybe somebody's in Community Connect or Free Through Recovery, And as they're getting to know their care coordinator or peer supporter may be thinking, this person really seems to be presenting with more intense needs than they did in the beginning. That might be a good candidate for 1915I. And the reason being that Community Connect Free Through Recovery, basically maybe an hour, 2 to 3 hours a week of that direct support with the individual. 1915I, the service limits are significantly higher. So somebody could receive several hours of care coordination every week. They could receive 4.5, 5 hours of peer support every week. They could receive specific, support for housing, whether that's to get housed or to maintain housing. So really, there's just a lot of hands-on support that can be built in with the 1915I, because it was designed to serve a population that did have kind of those more intense needs. And as long as there's an annual redetermination, and as long as it's still determined that the person has those needs present, they can continue on receiving 1915I services as long as they'd like to. So, yeah, the big thing would be the Medicaid piece. It's one of the biggest differences. I think Dale can attest to that too. It's great because people can get more service. It's harder to get on. It takes longer to apply and get approved. And that's just kind of the nature of the beast when you're working with a Medicaid program. And I have the unique opportunity to be in the behavioral health division, yet I co-administer this program with someone who is on the Medicaid side, of the state. So we each have our unique roles there. But yeah, it's definitely, we're learning as we go, and Dale and his crew have certainly helped us along the way significantly. Carrie's nodding her head, yes. So yeah, we appreciate the opportunity to have you be a provider of our program, and just encourage anybody who maybe knows someone who might need some additional support to certainly check it out and talk with Carrie or Tara or Rod, all the staff. Everybody here is pretty familiar with the 1915I. So
we're going to introduce our staff at the end. But
awesome.
Can I just say that one of the things that we're trying to do at Lighthouse with the people we work with is kind of make sure that they're on the right level of service right now, so that if they might benefit by the higher level of service, let's make that available and talk about that. I think we can do some of this really quickly. So to get on Free Through Recovery, if you're interested, you would probably start with your probation officer,
parole officer, or a case manager in the halfway house if you're living at like a reentry center.
Okay. So, and then they kind of take care of that process. If you're interested in Community Connect, it's a much simpler
so
system.
Community Connect is an online application for eligibility. So you could be visiting with your neighbor and you could say, they could be reaching out to you for help and support. You could literally pull up your phone, go to the Community Connect website, hit apply now. Anybody can access it, and the application goes right to our team. You can pick your provider at that time, so whether you pick Lighthouse or you pick a different provider in your community, it's very easy to access and very, very low barrier as far as that goes. So if you feel like somebody needs 1915I, sometimes they start with Community Connect so that provider can help them get connected to 1915I if that is what is needed. I did want to talk about the why behind these programs, and it won't take too long, but a lot of times with substance use recovery in particular, and sometimes mental health, historically what we have always said is that people need a bed. They need to be put somewhere. They need to go somewhere. And I still hear that every day in almost all of my work, this understanding that people need to be put somewhere or go somewhere to seek wellness. And what we know about addiction and mental health is it's a chronic disease, which means that it's often long-term and recurring. But when we focus on head in a bed or putting a person into an institution, we're treating it like an acute illness, like something that can be treated and get better in 21 days. But what we know is that people need services and support after those 21 days or whatever amount of days it is. And what these programs and services were designed to do was to expand those supportive services for people, whether they were in treatment and leaving treatment, or don't want to go back to treatment, or they can't find treatment where they want to go. We know that that's really when the rubber hits the road, is when you get home and you have to put all of those things that you learned in that very protective environment into play. And peers and care coordinators and all those different supportive services can play such an awesome and amazing role in all of that. So that's really the why.
Yeah, that's thank you for saying that, and I think that's an excellent statement to make, because in many ways what Lighthouse provides is an opportunity to at least kind of form a life community around yourself where you can get support. I learned early on in my own journey that I had to change everything if I was going to stay sober. I didn't believe it at first. Pretty much everything has changed over the years. And the reality is that it's the hardest thing that we will ever go through. If you struggle with a substance use disorder. And so the long-term help and support is needed. And that's almost sometimes even more complex with the mental health issues that a lot of you deal with. So very sensitive to all of that. I'll just say quick that if you just Google Community Connect North Dakota, you will find the website, and it's pretty simple. There are flyers here too. Yep.
There's some flyers up there. I think you might even have like a QR code on them where you can take a picture of them with your phone. If you Google Community Connect, it will be the first website that will pop up.
It's a very simple process. The key is to be very honest in the application. So if somebody's interested in 1915I, I'd love to say it's that simple. It's not that simple.
It is not.
Can you kind of quickly just talk about that?
Yeah. So because it's Medicaid, they're very specific on, a diagnosis has to be verified, that functional assessment has to be done. There is an application, it's on our website. I have some brochures, and I'll probably leave them with Carrie. It's got our website on it and kind of what the services cover, and how do you qualify. But yeah, you fill out the online application, you submit it to the county or the human service zone. They do all the processing of the applications. Once you've been approved, we have a navigator who helps, who reaches out to those folks who've been approved and just offers to help them connect with the care coordination agency. And then once they're connected with that care coordinator, then they take it from there and help whoever it is connect with those other services that they need.
Yeah, can I say that Carrie and Rod, where's Rod? Rod's in the back. Carrie is sitting down here. Both have been pretty effective in kind of helping answer some of those process questions. So feel free to ask. So you kind of started on a kind of talking about the benefit to society as a whole. Monica, I know it's early in 1915I, but what is the objective in this program to help Medicaid folks who are on Medicaid in a way that would, maybe not only just help them, but help our society or community as a whole?
Yeah.
Do you have any comments about that?
Yeah, I mean, the overall goal for 1915I is to help people stay in the communities that they want to live in, receive supportive services, rather than having to go somewhere for treatment. Having those home and community-based services available where they live is really important. Helping people, avoid going back to jail or to prison if they have that support in the community. Helping people stay healthy and maintain good relationships and maintain their recovery goals while they're able to live at home and, maintain their connections, their employment, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, so society benefits as a whole. Do you want to add anything to that, or what?
I would just say that all of you probably know all too well that when one person suffers with addiction or mental health, lots of people suffer from the fallout of the addiction and mental health often. And these programs are really designed also to deal with that fallout, where a clinician can diagnose and treat. We can, help you with, reunification of your children, or helping you find the housing that you might have lost as a result of hospitalization or incarceration, and not so much, and no diagnosing and no, treatment that way. And so I just think the benefits are massive. So when we say we have 2,800 people being served by Community Connect, you could multiply that times 5 safely about the number of people that we're impacting across North Dakota because of all of the different people that those programs and services touch on that entire unit of family or community. And so I just really think when we talk about mental health and we talk about substance use, we all have mental health. We all have behavioral health. And so when we use that type of language, we stop stigmatizing it. And so one of our goals is really to, just talk about mental health and talk about it in a positive way. And I think we are starting to see that more and more in our society as well, that youth are becoming more comfortable with talking about their mental health and their experiences. Whereas when I was growing up, if I would have had that thought, and I'm not that old, nobody was talking about it. Mm-hmm. I didn't have a safe place to say, gosh, I don't feel right, or I haven't had any energy for, a couple of months. But I just took my son in for his physical, for sports, and he's 13. And you have to do a depression and anxiety screening when you do that. And I was asking him those questions, and he actually answered it very honestly. And I was really proud of him, because that's something that a lot of times we don't feel comfortable talking about as a society. And now more and more people are getting comfortable talking about it and asking for help. And that's really what we need to seek wellness and to really impact communities across North Dakota and the whole nation and world, really. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so around here, I've learned that I have become, I hear, like in the church world and in other places, talk about stigma. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, everybody I know talks about mental health and substance use issues. Mm-hmm. And I forget that we're not the real world or the rest of the world. And so you could have said, everybody has mental health or behavioral health issues, and everybody here would go, yeah, you're telling me. So that's kind of the world in which we live, but a lot of the world doesn't really quite understand that or grasp that.
Or I don't think they have that.
Or they don't think they do, yeah. Well, we know everybody has issues that they probably need to deal with.
And I hear some stigmatizing even in our peer recovery community. And I always like to point this out when I do hear it, is at least I don't have that, And what we know is that mental health and substance use often are co-occurring, and oftentimes substance use is, a symptom of something going on with that individual. And so anytime I hear that, I'm saying something to somebody, because, at least I don't have that. And I'm like, well, what's that? And how do you know you don't have that? And because that just really shuts down somebody that might be sitting next to you or across the room from you that might have been, thinking about their own issue, whatever that might be. So I encourage us to not use any of that kind of language, and to replace the word stigma with discrimination. Because oftentimes it's not stigma, it's discrimination. So I had a peer advocate teach me that, and now I started replacing that word a lot of times when I wanted to use stigma, and it fits. Mm-hmm.
Monica, one of the things that we have found with 1915I is that we work with a lot of people who have real trouble going out into society and finding resources. And we also find that there's not a lot of resources available for people to connect in. And I'm just wondering if you can talk about that. And part of what I wanted to do is I know that a lot of us know people, whether it's people who we live next to, people that we hardly see come out of their apartment. I'm just wondering if you can talk a little bit about what you've seen in the short time there's been 1915I in that way.
As far as resources?
Some of those needs and resources, yeah.
There's always a need for more resources. I think there's really like, I think there's a need for people to watch out for each other and to notice when, somebody might be struggling, or to worry about your neighbor, and, also having the, the strength or the will to actually ask them, are you okay? And could I help you connect to some services? Or, there's always room for more resources, but it's funny, I learn probably once a week about a new thing that I didn't know existed that is, a source for somebody. And there's just no comprehensive list of what's available out there. And it's really frustrating to know that there are so many things available and the people need them, and to get those connections made is really difficult. But we really rely on the service providers, especially the care coordinators and the peer supports who have navigated through those communities successfully, to share those resources and share them with the other folks who are also providing those services within the same communities. I know the care coordinators, Carrie's kind of, or I don't know if it's you or someone else, but kind of arrange a meeting once a month maybe, where everybody kind of comes together and talks about resources and struggles and things like that, and that's awesome. And I don't need to be a part of that because that's not my jam. I'm not boots on the ground. So just sharing and being open to, asking for help, calling up another provider. Hey, I've got somebody who really needs this. Have you got any ideas? There's no room for being territorial. There's no room if you're not the right provider, if it's not a good fit. There's nothing wrong with facilitating a change. There's so many different options, and there's so many different types of support out there that it's really important to help the people connect with what's right for them.
Thank you. So we're gonna do this quick, and then we're going to draw it to a close. I told you a half hour would go fast. I would like to give you each an opportunity to kind of speak to the crowd here, and to our Lighthouse community. We have some church people here, a couple board members. Believe me, they've talked a lot about state programs in 1915I. And I want to just give you an opportunity to kind of speak a word to us of support, encouragement. What is your experience been in working with us? Whatever you'd like to say, yeah, go for it. Who wants to go first?
Well, I can go, and I can just speak for my personal experiences with Dale and all of the team members that work at Lighthouse, that the services and supports and ministry of Lighthouse is changing lives, and it's changing the whole, the dynamic of that recovery community, and really leading, and leading by example, and really creating a recovery community, which is what we know and what Dale had mentioned earlier about when people are really making big life changes they need. And I think, Dale and I talk about data, and how do we show this to the funders and the legislature and, people that come in and study these things. And sometimes that's really hard to show through that data, but when I look at faces of people, we talk about people that left services maybe unsuccessfully, but 2 years later now are coming back every week for services and supports at Lighthouse Church. To me, that's a success or win. And what I always talk about a lot is just planting seeds. Change is hard, and change is a process, and we ebb and we flow, and we it's difficult, and so there's lots of seeds that are planted along the way, and just takes one seed or one loving person or one caring person to really show us there's a different way. And I look at Anne, and I just see her hugging on everybody all the time, and Carrie and Misty, and to me, the love and support that you get from the people that work at Lighthouse isn't like any other place. And so that's just life-changing. Just takes one person treating you in a different way than you've ever been treated before to really impact your life. And so I think that's amazing. The other data I'd like to point out is that individuals with mental health in our nation die 5 years earlier than other people without those diagnosed mental health conditions. And people with serious mental illness currently die 25 years earlier than others. And so without those services and supports, we have the fastest growing really, pandemic is mental health. And so we need teams like Lighthouse to be able to implement these policies and resources that we've been given permission to by the state government and federal government. And so without partners and private providers and churches like Lighthouse, our work isn't possible. So,
thank you, Heather. Monica?
Yeah, and I don't have, it's too early yet for us to have any actual data that I could give you numbers, I could give you, we have anecdotal success stories, we have a ton of them, and I have to say that most of them originate from the services at Lighthouse. You've all been just a fantastic partner. We've been through about everything together, it feels like. Changes, pivots,
Fights.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, but we're all passionate about what we do, and that's,
Yeah.
we're all on the same team, and we're all doing things for the same reason. So, you've just been a fantastic partner, and we've seen so many great things, and the fact that you're just willing to keep growing and keep accommodating those needs and kind of stretch out of your comfort zone a little bit has really just been amazing for this community, for Fargo-Moorhead, or for Fargo, I guess. Has just been instrumental in helping 1959 grow and getting those services out there. And the relationships that your providers have with other providers and that collaboration is just amazing. Yeah. There's just really good relationships happening and supporting each other. So, yeah.
Thank you. We do this work because we care about people and we want to help. And I think most of our people know that we don't give up on people because Jesus doesn't give up on us, and so it's rooted in our faith. And if you're new tonight, we don't do this normally on Celebrate Recovery. It was kind of a special night. I'd like you to thank them for giving us some time. Just stay there, Sin. All right, you can sit down for a quick sec. So that was very nice, and I know for them to give up an evening like this, apart from family and stuff, it's very precious. So thank you so much, and it was a joy to be with you tonight. I'm hoping that they can stay. If you have any questions or you want to meet them, at least maybe you can stay for a few minutes as we kind of get ready to go to small groups. Before we break, I want to introduce our staff to you quick. And so most of our staff who work with these programs are here tonight. Come on up right now quick if you're on staff. And we have recently created two separate organizations. One of them, called the Beacon of Lighthouse, provides recovery services or care coordination for 1959. And then there's an organization called Lighthouse Recovery Services, and they are providing all the other stuff that they talked about, including peer support services for 1959. And I'm not, even just going down the list and doing names nobody will remember unless you know these people. Can I just say that this is a lot of people. They work hard. They love the people that they work with most of the time. And they are doing this kind of rooted out of their own spiritual journey. And so I'm very proud of them. And I hope that you get to meet them because they are around Celebrate Recovery pretty regularly. And if you have questions about what we've just talked about, you can ask them as well. We'll just do this quick. If you are a care coordinator, raise your hand. So those are the care coordinators. So that's the rest of you, but if you are a peer support specialist, raise your hand. So, all right. Thank you, you guys, and I hope you hang around too. We're going to stand up, say the Serenity Prayer together, and then no closing song tonight, so we're going to go to groups. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking as Jesus did this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Amen.